As Tonya rushed into her apartment, she hastily removed her boots and coat before dashing into the kitchen to retrieve a vase from the top cupboard and place her tulips in water. "Mom, I'm home," she called out, but there was no response. "Mom, are you asleep?" Tonya asked, receiving only a faint, barely audible voice in reply. Her mother was sick and complaining about her daughter walking around when she had both sugar and blood pressure problems. "It's only 9:30 at night, Mom," Tonya said, trying to reason with her. "We were at the cafe with my colleagues. Tomorrow is March 8th, don't you remember? I'll be 37 years old in a month, and you're scolding me like a child who stayed out all night." "You are a child," her mother retorted, suddenly raising her voice. "You don't know anything about life, and you'll get burned. I called you, and you didn't answer. Don't you care that your mother is worried?" Tonya remained silent, knowing that her mother would not listen to her. This had been going on for years. Tonya's mother was always sick and demanded her daughter's attention at all times. Tonya had no personal life, and her mother never gave her the chance to have one. Even though she lamented about Tonya being lonely without a husband or children, she never allowed her to pursue relationships or other interests. Tonya had received 19 phone calls from her mother that evening and had answered 10 of them. During the last conversation, Tonya informed her mother that she was taking a cab with the number ***** and heading home, which was 20 minutes ago. However, her mother had called her 4 more times during that time, but Tonya didn't notice as she had flowers in her hands and her phone was in the inside pocket of her purse, which was in the back seat. Tonya tried to explain this to her mother, hoping for her understanding and forgiveness, but instead, it only seemed to make her mother angrier. "You were out having fun, forgetting about your sick mother. I needed my pills," her mother exclaimed. "But I bought them yesterday, and they are on your nightstand," Tonya replied, trying to calm her mother down. "Don't argue with me. While you were dancing and drinking with questionable company, I was worried sick about you," her mother continued to scold. "Mom, I was behaving myself, and I was only out for 3.5 hours. Why are you reacting this way?" Tonya asked, feeling frustrated with her mother's overprotective behavior. "Because I'm sick, and you're an ungrateful daughter. You're just waiting for me to die, so you can get rid of me," her mother accused Tonya, causing her to feel hurt and frustrated. "Mother, please stop saying things like that," Tonya pleaded. "How dare you talk to me like that? At least ask me about my condition. Go get a blood pressure monitor and a glucometer right now," her mother demanded. Tonya hurried into her mother's dark and stuffy bedroom, where she took her blood pressure and blood sugar readings. Her mother wailed, "See what you've done? My heart is racing, and I've already taken my medicine today, but it hasn't come down at all." Tonya quickly called for an ambulance and gave them all the necessary information before running around her mother in a frenzy of self-blame. She rarely rebelled and was always an obedient daughter. Her attempts to gain some privacy and independence had always failed, causing her overwhelming feelings of guilt and her mother's deteriorating health. This time was no different, and Tonya was horrified to realize that her mother was right. She had long harbored the idea that she would only be free after her mother's death, but she wanted to live now, and she wanted her mother to live as well. Tonya dreamed of opening the windows and letting in fresh air, replacing the heavy drapes with light and airy organza. She knew it was time for her to find a way to break free from this suffocating cycle and start living her life. Tonya was in distress when the paramedic arrived with the ambulance, having received multiple emergency calls from the same address. Gennady, the paramedic, felt sorry for her, but he knew that her mother was exaggerating her illness. After listening to her mother's complaints, Gennady carefully examined her and suggested that she be admitted to the hospital for further tests. He hoped that at least Tonya would get some rest during the holiday, but her mother refused to be hospitalized and instead received a shot for her blood pressure. Gennady was interested in Tonya, so he asked for her phone number under the pretext of wanting to check on the patient's condition. He also asked her out, but Tonya was angry at his audacity and declined. After the ambulance left, Tonya found her mother's unopened blood pressure pills and a hidden package containing a small cake. She realized that her mother had been lying about her illness. Tonya was aware that measuring blood sugar after a meal, especially a sweet one, would show higher readings, which is why she was skeptical of her mother's claim that she had not eaten anything. Her mother had also lied to her and the doctors about her blood pressure not going down, which only added to Tonya's frustration. "Why did you eat the cake, Mom? Why did you lie to me and the doctors about my blood pressure not going down?" Tonya asked wearily as she entered the room with her mother. Instead of apologizing, her mother became defensive and accused Tonya of going through her things and counting the pieces in her mouth. Tonya silently got dressed, took her phone and keys, and left the house. As she wandered the streets lost in thought, her phone rang incessantly, but for the first time in years, she didn't feel guilty about not picking up. An hour later, Tonya returned home and went straight to the kitchen to put the forgotten tulips in water. Her mother met her in the hallway, still clutching her head and heart, and continued to hurl accusations at her daughter. However, it was as if Tonya didn't hear a word of it. Her mind was elsewhere. "That's enough. You can die if you want to, and I want to live. I do, and I will," said. As if she had cut it off, Tonya went to bed. And in the morning, Gennady called, and Tonya, without asking permission, but only after informing her mother and dryly congratulating her on the holiday, went out on a date. She still shuddered and glanced at the phone out of habit, but it was silent. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. "Natalia Grigorievna, will you be able to sit with Valyusha on Friday evening? There's a new play at the theater. We've wanted to go for so long, and now my day off conveniently falls on the right day. Of course, Janashka, go. You and Tonechka need to unwind, and I miss my granddaughter already. Bring her to me. I'll move the pool to Thursday." "Great, thank you. And after the show, we'll get some cake and come to you." "No cake, Gina. I don't like them. Buy some custard cakes instead." Subscribe to our channel not to miss new interesting life stories. Give us your likes, write your opinion in the comments.